Welcome everybody to another episode of Fantasy News. I am your disheveled goblin host, Daniel Green, and today, I am so excited to be able to finally bring you the cover reveal and release date for my next book, Neon Ghosts, A Witch's Sin. This project has turned out so much better than I could have ever dreamed of, and on June 27th, it is going to be dropping into your lap. Well, our ebooks and audiobooks will be available July 4th. A week before that, Tuesday, June 27th, Wraithmarked Creative, my publisher, and I will be launching the Kickstarter for this gorgeous, signed, hardcover edition just for you guys. Wraithmarked has worked with me to make sure that this hardback comes with everything you could possibly want in it. An incredible cover, foil printed casing, custom end sheets, and even a fully customized interior I get to show off closer to the launch date. And we worked extra hard to keep that price down, so while it is a Kickstarter hardcover, it's still just going to be $35 plus shipping. Of course, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't satisfy the people who want something that's a little bit more limited and exclusive, so there's going to be just 1,000 copies with beautiful sprayed edges. You know you'll love those. And those will never be available again after they sell out. And to really hammer home just how much of a deal I wanted this to be for everyone who decided to support my authorial career here and pick up a hardback of Neon Ghosts, there is also going to be, for every single person who backs at the hardcover tier or higher, custom foil bookmarks included with the purchase. Same quality, the ones we launched for Lawful Times, all signed. I often get asked, what's the best way to support myself and the channel here? Honestly, this is it. Backing this Kickstarter and making it be the dream book launch I've always wanted since I was but a boy. And if you want to make sure you are first in line to have full access to every tier at launch, you can sign up for the pre-launch page using the link in the description and pinned comment down below. That's tinyurl.com/neonghosts, so that as soon as it's live, you're first in line. Finishing off here, I just wanted to say that taking my audience along with me through the indie publishing scene and now the trad publishing scene has just been so fantastic. And as we get closer to the Kickstarter launching on Tuesday, June 27th, I can't wait to share even more details with y'all. Without any further ado, let's jump into the fantasy news. And of course, the first story of the day we're going to be covering here is the Writers Guild on May 2nd unanimously voted to strike. There, of course, has been the studio angle of the narrative pushed by some outlets that the demands are unreasonable and that they, of course, tried to negotiate. But if you actually look into the Writers Guild's list of demands, they not only make sense with, of course, the rising costs of living, but also with industry shifts, and streaming needs to be addressed for these people. Just as much as directors or actors are held up in entertainment, writers should be too. They are not enough. Next time you have a project where you think, wow, that was just like flawless, 10 out of 10, maybe don't just become a fan of the stars that are in front of the camera or holding the camera, but the people who actually wrote the story that allowed all of that to come to fruition. I actually preach, if you're someone who wants to find more high quality content you love, don't follow acting stars or directors, follow the writers behind the projects you love. And once you've experienced that track of following entertainment, the value of writers really becomes clear. Long story short, yes, I back the Writers Guild's demands completely. And that's not just because there's one right there. But I'm sorry to kick it off with a heavy piece of news. Let's go ahead and get into some exciting authorial news, because Dennis E. Taylor, the mastermind behind the Bobverse, has taken to Twitter to post, "Now into edits. Still not happy with the title, but that can wait. Bobverse Voyage." Bobverse is one of my favorite ongoing sci-fi series, and I cannot recommend it enough, and the next entry is one that I've been anticipating since even before the last entry. I'm excited enough for this series to not just want the next one, I want the next one. And just celebrating the self-published side of the fantasy sci-fi sphere, we have also seen the winners of this year's SPFBOs announced, and it is Small Miracles by Olivia Atwater, Bad Angels, good intentions. Now, it was actually shared in my Discord server that this is actually an extra special win for the SPFBOs, because not only did Small Miracles win, it's tied the Sword of Kaigen for the highest average score for the SPFBOs. It and Sword of Kaigen, one of the best self-published books I have ever read, if not the best, both had an 8.65, and god damn, bet your booty this is on my TBR now. But moving on into other badass series news, if you are a fan of the Empire of Silence, you might want to go ahead and check out the Kickstarter that is currently alive for a special edition of that series, or as it's being called, the Diamond Edition, with a leather-bound hardcover, unlike another special edition omnibus that is launched for the Threadlight series 1 through 3. Congratulations to both Chris Ferruccio and Zach Argyle for having such successful launches. And if, while you're checking out their Kickstarters, you want to sign up for a pre-launch one, there might be an interesting one coming down the road. Now, for a different side of self-publishing news, Ingramspark, one of the best-known names in self-published publishing, has updated its offerings to authors who would like to use its printing services to distribute their book, a lot of which are positive, one of which I find to be a bit not. A 1% distribution fee on all sales through its services, yes, every single book, wow. But going through the details, which include no more fees for just getting your book set up on the platform, or revision fees, which yes, were a thing on the platform before, it can't help but just seemed like a response to Kindle's publishing angle growing in this space so rapidly. Again, that's part of just like the fear in the space with name recognition alone and how they can just build you into an ecosystem for most self-published authors who don't necessarily want to take on the big fight against Amazon stepping into the space and just want to get their book out there. It can quickly become indisputably just a better option to distribute your physical, digital, and audiobook through their ecosystem. The frustrating part is I also don't like Ingramspark. I don't think they treat their authors very well, and I think their setup is janky at best, so they need to step up their game to help even begin fighting the fight against someone who is moving into the space like a black hole, just consuming competition. Because I straight up want to acknowledge, I do not like what Amazon's doing. I think their business practices are unfair, but it seems undeniably true with how they promote people who go exclusively with them in their algorithms, that if you are an author without an audience, the best way to go right now, indisputably, is into their ecosystem, because it's where such a high percentage of the readers are. That's what Ingramspark is trying to fight, with Amazon and Kindle now allowing for physical publication of books as well. But let's cut the heavy stuff and get into some more entertainment sci-fi fantasy news, including the fact that apparently Robert Pattinson is in talks to play Dracula in an upcoming Chloe Zhao project that includes the character but is genred as a sci-fi western? 100,000% down for that. Chloe Zhao is a phenomenal director. Robert Pattinson has experience as a vampire, but memes aside, has proven himself over the last decade or so to just be a phenomenal actor. And a sci-fi western is a genre that I don't think really misses that often. I mean, even the worst sci-fi westerns tend to just be enjoyable schlock. But yes, for Robert Pattinson, it also seems like his career could come like full circle if he gets like tons of awards and accolades for playing one of the most iconic vampires of all time, officially overshadowing the pop culture role that got him to the point where he's been able to reinvent himself through his career in this way. And if you are a Stranger Things fan or a The Dark Crystal fan, you might be interested to hear that the Duffer Brothers are producing a new show from Jeffrey Adis and Will Matthews, who will be acting as showrunners. And what I actually really like about this project is it's not focused on kids. In fact, it's focusing on a retirement community, the pitch being, in a seemingly picturesque retirement community in the New Mexico desert, a group of unlikely heroes must band together to stop an otherworldly threat from stealing the one thing they don't have. ... Time. And I'm late to it because I missed Yes Week, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that we also got some Wheel of Time casting, including Maya Simonson, Raga Ragnars, Jay Duffy, and Rena Tiweta, the first two of which will be playing Bane and Chiad. Which for some reason, IMDb is already claiming Chiad has been in the show. They have not. not all desert gingers are the same. But for my One Piece fans, we also got a One Piece update involving the Netflix live-action show from the author Oda himself. The letter says, "I've been working with Tomorrow Studios and Netflix for quite some time now. Even though they understand each of the characters, we obviously come from very different cultures. So when it comes to entertainment, we have different codes, skill sets, and aims. Sometimes it could be frustrating for both sides. It felt like we're all trying to get the same place, so how come we're not on the same wavelength? There was even a time when I thought, is a foreign production even possible? Now, this might seem like it's coming out of nowhere, but we've been hard at work this entire time, and now each and every entity involved is working in sync. We're finally here. Considering my expected lifespan, I believe this is the last chance to bring One Piece to the entire world. If we're going to do it, I want to be able to supervise things while I'm still active. That's why I agreed to the live-action adaptation of One Piece back in 2016. Wow, I did not know it was that long ago. Since then, Netflix has committed enormous resources to the production. It was announced that the show will launch in 2023, but they've promised that we won't launch until I'm satisfied. The entire cast and crew, spanning various countries, are brimming with love for One Piece. They're burning with passion, and I've reminded everyone involved, this should be fun. We're in the final process now. Right now, we're finishing off all 8 episodes. We'll be setting sail very soon." That is a reassuring thing to hear from the mind behind One Piece. Of course, I like hearing that. But this is still one of the shows I am most nervous about, period, just because of how enormous a task it seems to me, especially the more I just think about the smaller beats of the story and how much limited a live-action production has to be to remedium One Piece. That is a Titan level feat, and if they pull it off, I will be singing its praises here on the channel to the moon. I'm just still really nervous. I love hearing that Oda apparently is getting a lot of final say. I hope that is as simple, straightforward, and as true as this letter makes it out to be. But of course, I end up just asking you, how are you all feeling about a live-action One Piece at this stage in the production, where we've seen some posters, some of the castings, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being no hope whatsoever, 10 guaranteed success? Where do you fall in the matter? And let me know if you're a major or a minor or not even a fan with your comment as well. I'm curious to see if there's any through lines there in terms of where people rate. Getting on over into the quickie news though, we also had the season 3 of Witcher trailer drop, which looked as good as the other Witcher trailers have. I actually think the franchise as a whole has done a really good job with its trailers. The delivery of the actual show has been far more mixed, though I cannot help but criticize one specific angle of the sound design for this goddamn trailer. Why is the sword making this sound? That's a leather sheath. That is a leather sheath. That is a leather sheath. And there's this inevitable awkward angle, whereas this is the last time Henry Cavill will be playing Geralt. Next season it'll be someone else, so for I think a lot of fans, this is the last season of The Witcher. Beetlejuice 2 is for sure happening with Jenna Ortega and Michael Keaton attached. Not necessarily a story I think needs to be told, but Jenna Ortega is just undeniably good casting for Winona Ryder's character's daughter. Yeah, that works 100,000%. And then we also got the trailer for Black Mirror Season 6, which seems to be following the show's recent trend of backing away from covering interesting sci-fi topics with nuance and thought, and instead just being a showcasing of famous faces. And dear God, this show has had a downfall in my opinion.
You were the chosen one!
And before we talk about the Dune trailer, I of course have to talk about the fact that we got a trailer for a Funko Pop video game, and people seem to like it? No! There is nothing of substance in this trailer for the actual game. Are you all crazy? It's just a series of pop culture references with a slightly shocking amount of Funko Pop gore in it to get your attention and make you go, I remember Back to the Future, and nothing of actual value is being put forth artistically for the actual gameplay. In fact, the only segments that look like they're not just like cutscenes and actual gameplay look like the most generic army man shooter possible. This is soulless moving on. And the Dune 2 trailer dropped, and my live reaction was as such. Obviously, because it's Denis Villeneuve, the visuals, exceptional. Like, it goes without saying. The sound design, impeccable. Best thing that I'm taking away from this, though, is that it actually seems like, I could be reading too much into this, they're going to realize Paul the way Paul is from the books. There are a few beats in here that make me think they're actually realizing that, and I really hope that's the case. Because if they do, this could become the most interesting sci-fi adaptation in a long, long, long time. The themes of Dune, and specifically its direct sequels, are where Frank Herbert's genius lies. I don't think the first Dune book holds up that well on its own. I think it needs the sequels to really be held up as high as it is. And I feel like this is actually realizing that. And I really hope that's the case. I really hope they do the second book. That's my biggest takeaway. I really hope they manage to do the second book. And in the final story of the day we'll be covering here, Babylon 5 is apparently getting an animated movie, announced to be a love letter to the fans. And if there's one sci-fi franchise that I have not watched, but am well aware of the diehard fan base for, it is Babylon 5. I at least haven't heard from Babylon fans yet that it's so milked and so dead, leave it alone, and instead I'm still hearing calls for more, so yay. But that has just been your latest episode of Fantasy News. Like and subscribe if you have not already, and please go ahead and sign on up for the early reminder for the Kickstarter launching June 27th for Neon Ghosts, releasing for digital and audio editions July 4th. Have a good one, y'all. Peace. And of course, I'd like to record a special shout out to my latest high-tier Patreons, Cameron Smart, Josh Frenier, Sriad, and Sticky Orange.